I'm going to give you a few varieties of med ball tosses. The basics is chest pass, which soccer you're probably not going to use a lot, but we'll get into other stuff. It's good in general, just forward and backward stuff. All right. So chest pass, good to go. You can do 1 foot forward, both feet square. Try that. It'll test your balance a little bit if you do both feet square. Biggest thing I'm going to tell you right now is you want to try to keep the chest up, so when you project here, I'm getting no force from my hips and I'm off balance. Okay, so I constantly want my hips and my shoulders to be in good relationship with each other. Okay, same thing when you're throwing, right? You may, when you throw the ball, because believe it or not, I did actually play soccer and I was a thrower, and I used to do that cool front handspring thing. That last part is a lie. But I know at least when I was throwing, you wanted to really throw the hips first, and then the chest comes last. If you go like this, you can't see what you're doing, and your throw stinks. So it's the same deal here. When I push, hips come in, chest is fairly strong, high up, so I'm not leaning out over here. I don't want to bench press it, is what I'm saying. Okay? I want to power clean it with my hips there. So do it again real quick just so you kind of feel the difference. Essentially, somebody should see you from the side and say, dude, you look like a man. Okay? That's basically what you're looking for. Once that's warmed up, I would say go to some squat throws here, either to a partner. Obviously you'd want to go a little bit more distance. So because this one you get a lot of force going. You don't want to smoke somebody in the head. But just show them a nice, easy toss. Okay? Same thing there. I'm bringing it through with the hips so that the hips do the work. I should eventually feel like my whole body is just working in one piece and it's not just my arms, okay? Or even just my hips. I should not be conscious of any one muscle group. That's what I'm saying. Okay? When you throw the ball in bounds, you should not be thinking, oh, dagnabbit, I really felt that in my arms, right? You don't want to feel it anywhere except all across the front of your body on the contraction part and all across the back of your body on the push part. Okay, one piece, that's what you're looking for. So the same thing as our vertical jumps. When I do these, the first 2 or 3 is just nice and relaxed. And then 3 or 4, I get my nervous system is going, the blood is pumping, and I'm starting to really sling it. 5 and 6, my muscles are starting to get a little bit less explosive. Cut it off, go to something else, come back later if you want to, if that makes sense, okay? Once you get the chest pass and the hip throws, either to a partner, straight up, or even, depending on your sport, back. This is especially good for wrestlers, given what we do. We'll have them throw it all the way back over to work on their flexibility. Too, if you're into that. Once you get that, you kind of get the big muscles back here working. Now is when I would suggest you start doing the ball slams either to yourself or even potentially to each other. Okay, so this is really going to mimic what you're doing on the throw-ins, but it also mimics a lot the motion of the arms and the body when you're sprinting as well. So you're going to get a lot of good stuff in this. So you just show the bounce pass. And again, if you do this to a partner, or you can just straight down. Again, the first 2 times is nice and relaxed. I'm using the hip first, okay? Don't be leaning down. Hips sink. Hips are sinking. Sink your hips a little bit. Good. All right. So you get 4 or 5 on each side, and then you move on to the next thing. We can go side throws right here, and again, I'm not worried about isolating the core or isolating the arms or even isolating the legs. I'm just trying to get to the point where I've got a good full range of motion and I'm slinging it off to the side. So go ahead. You can use a ton of different stances with this. You analyze what you need as an athlete, and then put it here. Okay? We're using a ball. Obviously, if you're in soccer, you're not going to have a ball in your hands. But the good thing is you learn to transfer the energy from basically your upper body through to your legs and hips, so that when you're taking corners here, it's a lot the same loading mechanism right here. Okay, so you've got that cross-body core thing going on that is really effective in pretty much any time that you're running around. What we didn't get to yesterday was neck isometrics. Isometrics is a very specific word, but I'm going to give you a lot of different variations, okay, that aren't really neck isometrics, but I just want to show you some things that you can do to keep your neck reacting to different stresses so that it can be strong in a lot of different ways. Isometrics means what? Same what? Yeah, I think so. Not fully. Metrics, yeah. No motion. So isotonic then? No. Same weight. Same tonnage. What's the other one? Isokinetic. Same speed. Right? Mr. Science. As you can see, I don't care. If you mix it up, it doesn't matter, okay? Basic neck isometrics, you can do this a bunch of ways. My favorite is basically stolen from wrestling. People don't like this, but it's the best one because it gets everything. Basically, I'm going to come up to this guy and I'm going to just jerk around on his neck, okay? He's going to try to stay in a good, strong position here with his head and chest up and his hips down so he can move. Because I don't want him to be like a stick right here. I want him to get practice at being in a good spot, okay? And I'm just going to look, essentially I'm going to look at where his feet are, and I'm going to try to off-balance it by pushing him and pulling him where he doesn't have a post, okay? And obviously we do this a lot in wrestling, which is why generally we get poofy necks after a month of in-season, which is kind of nice. Makes it harder to wear your tie. But some girls like it. Just saying. So that's a basic one. It does take a little bit of warming up, and you will be the most sore after this one, probably. Some other ones, we'll do the stick version, where Rob actually does just stand like a stick, and he's going to basically do a trust fall. I'm not going to let him go too far because I have no idea what shape his neck's in, but he's going to try to stay straight, and I'm just going to push on his head. So this is a very different exercise than what we were just doing. Okay, relax. We'll do the same thing side to side, front and back, and you just got to make sure you and your partner are communicating well. Okay, this is not a let's get it all done in one day kind of deal. Okay, the good news is very similar with the neck and the calves. I told you you can do like the box jumps. You can do them every day for weeks at a time if you want to. You just have to be careful that you don't go crazy. Same thing with the neck. You can hit it every day. If you try to do squats every day, you're going to injure yourself and/or end up psychologically messed up because your hormones are going to go over. Okay, but you can hit your neck and your calves with the box springs pretty much every day because your body's designed to do it. Okay, we wrestle every day, and we only get minorly depressed. And you guys run around all day, every day with soccer, and I hope you're not too depressed. So your body's at some point used to that, to the loads. It just may not be used to, you know, if he tries to do this from here and come almost all the way down on the first shot, he's going to end up with some messed up spinal issues, okay? But if he comes here on the first day, you know what I'm saying, and here on the second day, and then a little bit farther on the third day, odds are good he'll be fine. Okay? Use your muscle soreness and your common sense as a guide. If he's falling and his body is swaying and he's having to use like momentum to get himself back up, time to back off or lighten the load a little bit. Okay? Last one I'll show you for neck isometrics is the one that most, this is funny to me, most strength coaches use because it's measurable. All right, throw them on the bench. Here, Rob will go do the obligatory deal. Grab a towel if you want to be really nice. But pretty much he's gonna lay down with his head off the end. I'm going to hold the shoulder so he doesn't cheat with his shoulder, and I'm just going to make him do a full range of motion here. Okay? That's pretty solid. It will, especially if I'm a good partner and we know what we're working on, he can work on strength, he can work on endurance, he can work on explosiveness. He just got to tell me what speed he wants to work at, how many reps, and what kind of resistance he wants. Okay? I say put your hand on the shoulder here, mainly because most guys, they just want to do this. Okay? And Rob's natural tendency, if I'm really horsing on him, is going to be to move that shoulder, and his neck only does this. Okay? So you got to make sure you isolate it if that's what you want to do. Okay? And the same thing if he rolls on his front or back, I'm just going to have a hand on the chest or on the back, making sure that he works what I want him to work. Okay? Any questions on that? I'm going to do the trap bar deadlift. Rob is going to show this. Pretty self-explanatory, but like the dumbbell power cleans that we did yesterday for the explosive deal, it really matters where his feet are, and it really, really matters what's going on in here. Okay, so we're going to coach that up a little bit. I want you to go sideways, go sideways to the camera just a little bit, right there. Just sideways. Okay. When he bends down to grab it, he's actually a little bit more flexible than I am, so he goes all the way down and his lower back is still locked in pretty much. Okay. If he can do that, then go off the ground. For you and me, unless you're freakishly flexible, for us tall guys, or at least lanky guys, sometimes we may actually need to put these up on other plates or even just a box somewhere, or just do the bar and put it out of the rack. Okay? Because if Rob goes down, and I'll show you what happens to mine here. The difference between Rob's back and mine, when I go all the way down, I have almost no choice but to do that rounded back thing. Okay? That's going to mean death for my lower vertebrae. And I can say that because it's already happened. Right? This is the stuff I didn't know when I was your age, and I wish I did. Especially now that I sit at the desk all day. So I can, if I really concentrate now, mainly because I'm in wrestling season and I'm loose, I can get it almost flat right here. Okay? And as soon as I feel like it's not, I need to raise the level a little bit. Okay? And it's one of those things, just like with what we mentioned last night. If you've got something that you're not comfortable with, use the light weight for a few weeks. As soon as you feel your body loosening up, which it will, then you can increase the weight. Okay? Once you've increased the range of motion to where it needs to be, then you can increase. Now, it brings up an issue with all of these, which hopefully doesn't get lost in the shuffle. What is the right weight, or I'm sorry, what is the right height to lift weights from? Somebody decided that because the 45-pound plate is this tall, this is where we should lift from with the trap bar deadlift, right? So some random guy had no idea that he was locking all of the rest of us for the next few hundred years into that right there. You understand what I'm saying? It's completely arbitrary. Okay? So what I'm saying to you is you figure out where is my stance that I actually need it to be for my sport. Okay? So if I run around and I'm playing defense like this, is this low enough? Not quite. You know what I'm saying? But if I all of a sudden started playing down like this and I'm not comfortable there, well, I'm still not going to be a good athlete. So I've got to give my body time to get down to the level that it needs to be. Okay, and some of that comes through you and your coach talking together, you just watching your film of yourself, because that's usually a brutally honest way to say, I mean, if I knew I was standing up that much, I'd do something about it. You know what I'm saying? It's usually a revelation to us at the end of the season when we finally sit down and watch film, how high we are in our stance. So that's something you just need to get into on a regular basis right here. And I check my spine. I check to make sure where my balance is. Okay. Now my hands are gonna end up right about here. And I would say in season, if I was training this as a linebacker in football or as a defensive guy in soccer, whatever your position is, if you're in baseball and you want your stance to be lower, then basically on a daily basis, I'm I'm just going to get into my stance, and I'm just going to kind of sit here until the muscles get comfortable and loose, and then I might stretch a little bit, but I'm not going to be, spending 20 minutes doing this stuff. Okay? I'm just going to spend time in my stance, in a good position, where it's at right now. Okay? I go get some sleep, I get some good food, I avoid hurting myself, I'm going to come back the next 2 days, and I'm going to be more flexible, and I'm going to be more stable. So, if this is your goal, to reach the arbitrary bar, knock yourself out, just make sure you're sensible getting it. Okay, but it takes self-awareness, self-experimentation. Let's finish this up here, Rob, and then we'll move on. That was all extra. Told you, fire hose. Stick it in, you just start swallowing. Lots of stuff coming at you. Go ahead. Go ahead. Straight up and down, bada boom. Now, there's no reason you have to use the trap bar other than I just think it's the same reason we use the dumbbells for the power clean. It's a whole lot easier to learn than for us long-legged guys banging that thing into our shins all the time. Because unless you plan to go to a bunch of powerlifting meets, put chalk on your hands, and eat red meat 3 times a day, you know what I'm saying? Simplify it down, use the trap bar, okay? Let me go just a few more details, 3 more, and just keep going while I talk. You're going to notice this stays in one piece from here to here, okay? I'm saying the top of his head to his tailbone is all pretty much one piece, and that should be the case in your athletics just as importantly as here. Okay, we harp on it as strength coaches, but I'm going to guess that your coaches also pointed out every once in a while too. Hey, ducking your shoulders when you get down in your stance or whatever. So if you can train it here and be brutally honest with yourself and force yourself to maybe cut down the weight for a few weeks until you're in perfect, what I call the T, not just the vertical, but here as well, okay, across. If he bows to the weight at his shoulders, it doesn't matter if this is neutral or not, he's still going to have problems with his back because this is not how you're meant to do athletics. Okay? You're meant to do athletics right here, not pinched, just neutral. Okay? In wrestling, literally all we do is try to get this guy to leave neutral. As soon as I get him here, I can do all kinds of nasty things to him. Okay? As soon as I get him here, I can do all kinds of nasty things to him. Just like if I get him here. Okay? Doesn't matter where we are in relation to each other. If I can get him to leave this T, whether this part of it or this part of it, I win. Okay? Same thing with your sport, frankly. Because if you're dribbling the ball, and all I need is for that guy, you face me like this. If I'm going to fake like I'm dribbling the ball that way, all I need is for this shoulder to turn that way, and I'm going that way, right? That makes sense? So if you can hold this pattern in everything you do in the weight room, it will automatically transfer to what you do on the field. Kind of a cool deal. Okay, dips. Jump up there and show them, Rob, even though it's fairly self-explanatory. My biggest thing with the dips is everybody wants to argue about what muscle groups do I want to hit here, because everybody who spends any time in the weight room has had, the muscle head tell them, oh, you need to stay up, or you need to lean over so you can get your pecs. Okay, I'm gonna just cheat it for you. Rob goes straight up, he keeps his head and chest straight up. It's gonna hit his triceps. Go ahead. Right there, it's gonna be mostly triceps. Obviously the pecs are involved, shoulders involved. So are the lats, okay? And the abs, and even a little bit the legs, believe it or not. If he leans over into it, now he's going to hit the pecs a little bit more. There you go. That's all you need to know. What are you trying to accomplish with that? That tells you what you want to do with it. And most of us can jump up there, and we can do the lean over thing. It's harder to do the one where you stay straight up. So push yourself till you actually are comfortable with both versions, and then figure out where you want to go from there. Once you get good at dips, you need to weigh them up either by putting the dumbbell in between your legs, or I think there's still a a belt over there. When you do the dumbbells, it's just like this. Boom, and I jump up there and I knock them out. When you do the belt over there, it's just a chain. Hook some plates in between. Just be careful when you pick them up. Most people use the dips as a post-bench exercise. I can just tell you from personal experience, when you ditch the bench and just do this and load big plates in between your legs, everything is going to get bigger. Yeah, good enough. I'm just saying, load up on that thing because you're actually using more muscles for dips than you are bench. And anybody who trains it seriously, you're going to get roughly 25% more weight on the dips than you would on bench if you add your body weight and everything else. That's why I say be careful. Once you get past 2 plates, if you pick up the 2 outside ones, the middle one's still hanging. Just be careful. Weighted pull-ups, same deal. You can do all the different things. We don't have the neutral grip in here. I wish we did, because I think the neutral grip is probably the best thing. There's actually a handle back in there. Yeah, beautiful. Flop that thing over and now you got yourself a neutral grip, okay? Anything you do here, it doesn't matter which grip you use, after a few weeks, if that's the only grip you do, your wrists and elbows and shoulders are going to start to grind down. So just keep the grip rotating, so you get new muscles, new joints involved, and then you don't wear stuff down. Okay. People often ask me, do I have anything against the behind the neck ones? I don't, as long as you're not pinching stuff. Okay? That's really good for a lot of things, as long as you can healthily do it. Okay? You may just need a little bit of time to work into that. Self-supported, you can either put the arm on the leg, and he's got that neutral back. It should just be like the deadlift as far as the form. The perfect T. He's not bending over the weights. He's up strong, and he's lifting them straight up and down. Bodybuilders are going to talk about pulling into the hip or pulling into the armpit. Just pull the weight straight up and down. Okay. As soon as you start going off to one side or the other, you naturally have to decrease the amount of weight you use, okay, which decreases the amount of muscle you can use. And unless you're trying to be a bodybuilder and hit specific muscles, I'm saying let's increase the amount of force we can handle. And all I really care about is this T in place and is the weight moving straight up and down. If it is, you're going to knock some serious weight out on there. Rob's just using 40s because he hasn't warmed up. Once you get going with this, 80s, 90s, and 100s, it truly doesn't matter what size you are. You might not do 10 of them at 100 pounds, but you should within a few months. Low weight, just like it's, low reps, like it's written on here, and fairly good weight. Next one is body weight row. It's going to be right here. This one is huge for evening out the shoulders and the upper body, okay? He's just going to be in a plank position with the rest of his body, and he's going to come all the way up, okay? I want each one of you to try this and see if you can get all the way to the chest. So my guess is I'll have at least 1 or 2 of you that can. And it won't be your fault. All right, he's in there. Nice. Give it a try. This is a muscle memory thing. It's kind of like riding your bike. Okay, get back in here. I'm just going to talk you through it. So you try to do your pull-up. Go ahead. You're going to get as far as you can, and then you're just going to help him the rest of the way. Okay, on the center of the back. Get up under there. Yeah, there you go. That's fine. He's just going to hold it there. So that's a rep, and then it's like a negative. So that last 6 inches, you're just going to help him go slowly down. So help him up, get him all the way to the bar. And then, again, just let him resist down. So you're fighting it the whole way down. Okay? You're fighting it the whole way down. Within a week or two, you'd be flying out there. Okay? So, farmer walks. Real simple. That's another thing you can do here on this second day. You're going to grab the heaviest weight you possibly can in start walking, okay? This is actually a perfect room for it. If you just do a little horseshoe around and come back, that's a pretty good rep. Put them down, you know, let your forearms and your shoulders relax a little bit. Pick them up again and go back again, okay? If you can get back here and like put the weights under here, you're using sissy weight, okay? The whole idea is that you're just getting stronger up in the shoulders and in the hips and everywhere else. And when you walk with it, you have to think of yourself like a bully, okay? You have to walk around like this, right? Shoulder, not necessarily like pinched back, okay? But just up and tall, okay? And as soon as you feel like the weights are dragging you down here, even if you're on the far side of the room, if you can't get them back to this point, then it's time to just let them down, okay? Catch your breath, pick them up again, and then finish. But I want you to be able to stay in good position, okay? Because the idea would be, if you're a farmer out in the middle of your field, you got 2 hay bales that you got to bring back to the barn. You're not gonna be 50 yards out and be like, I gotta just get up there. You're gonna put the stinking things down, take your break, and then pick them up again, because you have to do like 50 more. You know what I'm saying? So when you're doing this workout, it's kind of like the explosive stuff yesterday. I told you guys as you were leaving, I call it the lazy man workout, because you have to avoid pure exhaustion, okay? You want to hit the limit of what your body can put out right now. But if I walk out of here and I can't even stand upright, that's the opposite of what I want from this workout. I want you to walk out every day like you should feel huge after this workout. If you feel like, oh man, I don't even know if I can bend down and take my shoes off, you missed the point of the workout. Okay? So everything should be great form, heavy, but not like beat you down heavy. Okay? If you do it consistently, you will end up like the farmer who throws hay bales around until he gets tired, takes a break for a couple seconds, grabs them again, because that's going to be his lifestyle. Okay? So you've got to figure that out, is how do I make my lifestyle handling not just weight, okay, but handling forces. That's why the trap bar deadlift, frankly, I would get more out of most of it if I just completely avoided this, because you wouldn't have to worry about it and do the med ball tosses, the box springs, and all that good stuff. I could get you super athletic without that, but this adds the base of strength so that when you hit the plateau for your nervous system 3 months from now, you've got the strength base to take you even to another level. Okay, so we're going to hit both sides of the nervous system equation, both the heavy stuff and also the explosive, quick stuff. If that makes sense. All right, moving on. Let's get some more of these exercises. Multi-directional lunge. We're loose enough to do this? Cool. So basically, you're going to pick one leg forward, 45 sideways, 45 back, straight back, etc. He's just going to work himself around the clock. Okay. Now everybody is going to have a weakness here. Okay. And when I say weakness, I don't mean like he's going to be weaker than me. He's just going to have a place where he's not as flexible compared to himself. Does that make sense? So just by watching him, where do you think his weakness is? Huh? Left quad. Why do you say that? That's straight. Good. Do your left side. No, go straight out. Okay. See how he has to. This leg is bent pretty good, and he's also kind of shifting his hips. Okay. That's telling me he's trying to protect something. Either he probably had no idea. Right. So when you do these, I do it right in front of the mirror here, so that I can see what I'm doing. Okay. Because I would do this for a long time when somebody first taught it to me, and then they watched me again, and I was doing it completely wrong, because I would get here, and my leg would tighten up, but then I would basically get the rest of it with my upper body. You see what I'm doing here? So my leg's not doing anything right now. My waist and back are. Okay. So I use my hands on my own hip and lower back to make sure that I'm using the right stuff, and I also use the mirror to make sure that I'm actually using the right muscles. Okay. So you go around the circle and you find your personal weakness. Some of you, your weakness might be this. You know, you get that leg out there and you can't drop down. Okay, without doing this. You see what I'm saying? I think one of the guys that was in here last night, I guarantee you that would be him. I think he could probably do this okay, but every time he went into lunge, he'd have to keep doing this, putting that leg further out. You should be able to just go right here and go straight up and down. Okay? So find where your weakness is and figure out how to slowly ease into it day by day. Okay? When I talk with these guys about I have to warm up for certain things, like I have to warm up for this stretch for about a month. If that makes sense. Okay? I don't warm up for this stretch for 10 minutes. Okay? I do this like a month ago before wrestling started. I would have been able to get about there. Okay? But I didn't come in here every day and be like, okay, I'm gonna just keep working it. Okay. No, because what you do there is you take the tightest muscle you have, you've isolated it, and now you're obliterating it. Okay? You're going to strain something. Right? So when I realize what my weaknesses are, every day at some point, I just make sure that, you know, once I'm loose from the other stuff that I'm doing, I just do this a little bit. Okay? And I'm not even looking for a deep stretch. I'm just looking to work it through the range of motion a little bit. Okay? That's it. And I'm done. Okay? But I do it all the time. So it goes back to that whole, I'm going to warm up over the course of a month. Okay? So I'm not going to go into preseason and find out that I'm weak here and be like, ooh, I better have this fixed by the first game. Not going to happen. You're going to end up through that little door right there. Front squat, you can use either the bar or the dumbbell. Rob's going to show you the bar. You can also do the same thing with dumbbells. You're just going to get it up top. Elbows are straight in front, okay? And he's just going to sit down with what we call the catch stance from yesterday. Go ahead. And remember, this is the same stance where we caught that dumbbell power clean from. Okay? It's a good medium. It's basically your defensive stance. Not too wide that you can't move, and not too narrow that you're out of bounds. Okay? Go ahead and do a few. And we're just going to make sure, most people when they first do this, keep going, their elbows dip a little bit. Okay? Those of us with tight hamstrings and backs, we're gonna be like this a little bit. Okay? We're going to have to fight to keep the elbows up and the butt down. Go ahead one more time. Good enough. Okay? Next thing, we can do that with the dumbbells real simply, just like we did with the power clean. I get it up here, and then I'm just going to do my front squat there. Okay? The balance issues are much, much tougher, but you can handle generally more weight on the bar, a little bit less weight, but much more balance control, central nervous system, spinal strength and flexibility. So if you're talking, I need to just put on an extra 3 pounds of just muscle. Okay, I'm already the most athletic guy on my team. Nobody ever outruns me. I'm never out of balance. Well then, throw the bar on and load that joker up. Okay, if you're saying, I think I'm big enough, but I keep getting bounced around, then you need to throw these things on and deal with the balance issue, because then it teaches you to basically hold stuff exactly where you want it when it wants to go all over the place. Okay? But you play around with that. What do you want out of it? Put the implement with the exercise. Okay, squat is next. And I'm going to have each of you do this. Oh yeah, I'm running out of time, but I think we'll be okay. squat. Everybody's going to do at least one set. If for no other reason than to figure it out, let's use this one over here for the shorter guys. The taller guys can go here. We'll do it without the weight. As the sign says, squat is the king of exercises. I don't know what that means. It is important, okay, but it is also potentially dangerous. So we will coach it incessantly. So let's see what he has. Go ahead. All right. Now that we've kind of talked about this, I want you to notice, when does his lower back and hips roll? Okay, go ahead again. Do you feel when they roll? Okay, good. Good. Most guys aren't even aware of it. You have to make the decision, how far below that do I want to go? Go ahead again. Okay? Right about there, that's a pretty decent athletic stance. Okay? You're going to spend 75% of your time there, right? So you don't necessarily need to do all of your squatting all the way to parallel, even though every strength coach in the country, except myself, says to go all the way down. Okay? Now there are times when you need to go all the way down, because there's going to be times when you're an athlete that you do go all the way down to where your hips roll. Okay? So go ahead all the way to parallel if you would. You're going to be there every once in a while. Okay? But put the bar up there. What I'm saying is 75% of the time that you change direction, you're not going to let your back roll here, because if you did that, the guy's gone. Okay? So I'm going to put the foot in the ground and go. I'm not waiting for my back to compress all the way to here, because I know whether anybody's told me or not, my body screams at me, stop trying to go down to 90. I'm not ready for it. Okay? And so you bust your behind in practice to make sure that your hips are down, but they're not quite ready for it. That's why you have to ease into it well before the season starts. Okay? So that when the season starts, you can get down here at 90 and still be explosive. Okay? Because in every sport, the low hips win. Every time. Okay? So if in the off season I can train my hips to get down here with my chest up so that I can see what I'm doing, and my butt down, and my balance here where it's supposed to be, I will win all the time. But if I haven't trained myself to do that, and my body's only comfortable here, but I try to go down here, I'm going to injure myself, or worse, when it looks slow. So getting yourself down to 90 is important, but not with huge weight on your back all the time, if that makes sense. Okay? It's a worthy goal, but it's not just going to happen because I'm standing here yelling at you to get to 90 degrees. Does that make sense? So I would say literally pick days where you don't go to 90. Okay? And especially when you're first starting, I would say go to 90 with your warm-up. So when the weight is low and you're just starting out, go to 90, let your hips roll over a little bit, okay? And then do some sets heavier where you don't go to 90. You just go right here, okay? I had a buddy that I used to work out with. He would never go to 90, and yet he wanted to badger me about him doing the same number of reps that I did with the same weight. I was a year older. He was 40 pounds heavier, so somehow that made it even. And I would always go to 90, I would always go to 90, blah, blah, blah. And I would always match him, whatever he did, he would then match me. Guess who was more explosive? Him. Because he never went to 90. And so he was always right here, right where he was going to be in the game. Okay? Almost, but not quite. And so when it came time to actually perform, he was the more explosive guy, because I had been training a range of motion that I didn't realistically use in the game. Because as soon as the game started, I didn't line up like this, okay? I didn't run around like this. I ran around right here, okay? So, that's what I'm saying. Mix it up. Every once in a while, go a little bit lighter than your maximum. Go all the way down to 90 so you can kick in the hamstrings, kick in the supporting muscles here. But I would say most of the time, have your spotter tell you where is it that your back starts to roll, and just come right to that edge and then go right back up. Okay? That makes sense. So do both, but prioritize the athletic stance if you want to be an athlete. Does that make sense? Cool. We got this version, both feet. You can do alternate hands and foot, same hand and foot. Okay. What he's trying to do is really actually not avoid using these muscles, but he's trying to make sure that the low back muscles don't do all the work. He's trying to do most of the work here and here. Okay. If he was to have a hand on the back, the low back shouldn't really flex much at all. Okay. Go ahead again. Okay. He's got a little bit of motion, but most of the motion is right here where it should be, and right here as opposed to right there. Okay. Do it again. Good. So you're going to lock in that T, okay? And when do the bird dog view too, just hands and knees. Yep. Okay. Don't worry about the tuck under so much. Just go straight. Okay. Good. The best way to know if you're doing this right, throw me that PVC pipe, please. Put this on your back, straight down the spine, and see if you can raise the arms and legs. Just do the one arm at a time. He's basically going to just, don't worry about the legs. I know you can't do it yet. Okay? He's just going to try to see if he can do it all directions without the bar leaving. Okay? What he has to do when he does this is make sure that the spine stays straight. If he rolls to compensate for weaknesses somewhere, the bar will roll off. He's pretty solid with it. Do the same thing with the feet, 1 foot at a time. Straight out. What's really a butt kicker is bringing the leg off to the side. Especially for those of us tight in the hips. He's doing pretty solid. Not bad, not bad. Now you do one on one leg. Not bad. Good. Most people frankly can't do this because they don't have the core strength to hold their hips and their shoulders stable. As soon as they got to lift a leg, they do this, right? They got to roll. So it's a quick self-assessment. Just throw this thing on your spine and find out what you can and cannot do without having the bar roll off. Once you get good at that, put your legs up on a bench. Once you get really good at that, you can go legs on a ball. That is truly brutal. Another thing that 45-year-old woman was able to do that I couldn't do. Great. Go ahead. You'll notice he's not doing a pure push-up because his legs are wide instead of narrow. Do that on purpose so you actually have a base, because you're working on, you're going to feel huge torque in the legs, abs, shoulders, everything. Okay, keep going. So you can do the push-up or just the row. It's up to you. What are you trying to work? And again, you can be nasty and do this, but you can tell pretty quickly. Roll your hips and shoulders and do it all the cheats. Okay, a lot of people do that where they roll the hips, roll the shoulders. Okay, it's natural to try to avoid the pressure. Okay, but if you can lock this T in and then make the arms and legs work independently of that, you're going to save yourself a lot of spinal injuries. Okay? A lot of spinal related injuries. Okay? Go ahead and relax.